good morning to me, good evening to this young man sitting next to me on the screen. So let me get this going. We have something exciting for y'all today about real estate in the Philippines. And Roy and I have been we've been chat mates here for about what? How many months have we been chatting, Roy? Your memory's better than mine.
Wouldn't say that. Probably close to a year, I guess.
Okay, before we
Yeah.
went to Texas, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
we,
Long before that.
so he and I've been chatting. I don't even know how we started chatting. Yeah, I'm sure you maybe you reached out to me or something and had a question. I don't remember how we ended up, or maybe
I don't remember either.
I don't either. Bottom line is, he and I we love to chat, and here's the cool part, folks. Y'all know that I believe that everybody should be able to disagree or agree to disagree about things, and it'd be okay. It's not the end of the world, and not everybody has to believe like you do. And that's Roy and I both think that way, and that's kind of cool and it's refreshing. So I know I can share things with Roy, and even though I know in the back of my mind, sucker not going to agree with me, it's okay. He doesn't have to, and he doesn't get his sweatpants in a wad because he doesn't agree. So that's that kind of we've developed that relationship. Now fast forward it. He has a him and his wife both have a YouTube channel. Married to a Filipina, is that
Correct.
correct? Okay. Wife Christine, son is Ish. Great family. If you haven't been on his channel, go. They are just starting this channel, and of course, anybody that comes and subscribes, and you know how the whole thing goes. They are currently living in the U.S. Up in the northern cold, the regions where the igloos and when they go fishing, they have to cut a hole in the ice. Y'all can you
In
imagine
the
that?
winter, we do.
Yeah,
In the winter,
crazy stuff. Well, and I think winter's like 11 of 12 months. It's just nuts. I'm exaggerating, of course.
he's definitely exaggerating. He's
uh,
from a
but
he's from an area in the country that's so hot, they don't even go outdoors. They
yeah,
drive their car into their air-conditioned house with their air conditioning on, and that's how they transport each other. And they
yeah.
never go outside. You don't see anybody.
And if you're really good, your garage is air conditioned, so you don't ever really actually have to get out of the air conditioning. Yeah, yeah. He's right. We're from two different worlds, which
Mhm.
also makes it kind of cool. Um, he and I have different perspectives about a lot of things. Now, our age is very close to each other. I'll be 60 in a month or so. He just hit 65. Happy birthday, Roy! Congratulations for making it.
I'm still here.
I'm aspiring to get there, so we'll see if that happens. But like I said, they've started a channel. His wife is from. You correct me if I'm wrong, but his wife's from the Cebu area.
Yeah, Cebu. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where her family hails from, and I think they just got back from a trip to to that area. And I think they went to lots of different places because, again, real estate's involved, and
Absolutely.
that's kind of how we got talking about because he's been looking, and 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 the neat thing is I already had quite a bit of experience with that very topic, and I wish I could say, how my life, if you've been watching our channel for any length of time, I've made a few mistakes since I've been to the Philippines, and you live and you learn, and some of those learning experiences are a little hard to take, but you
Amen.
learn them, and I'm the type of person that I don't mind eating crow and sharing my bad luck with folks. I'm not out to make anybody think this place is perfect. And if you look at the name of our channel, The Good, the Bad, the Philippines, uh, you'd understand that I know it has two sides, and that's okay. Still a great place, and we love being here. So Roy and I want to, and this is a lot of content. So we both understand that. So we kind of worked out a deal where both of our channels can take part in this. This first vlog that we're doing is going to be kind of experiences that I've dealt with since most of mine are prior to Roy and his search for real estate. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Roy's going to ask me some questions, kind of guide me through the timeline. But we're going to talk a little bit about this first vlog about some of the experiences that I've had and Jen and I have had in our search. here in the Philippines. We're going to look at lots of different things, everything from row housing to condominiums to just land purchases. And of course, if you've been watching this channel, then you're already aware that we built a home here. So all of those things bring different experiences to a person's plate. And I got to share a lot of that with Roy prior to him going and doing his search. And the things he's found in that area down around Cebu recently, very recently, may even be more beneficial to those of you that are looking. So on that second series, if you will, it's going to be a little two-part series. The second one's going to be on his channel, and we're just going to kind of reverse roles. I'm going to ask him some questions. He's going to talk about his experiences very recently about land searches, and maybe we both. And let's do a little disclaimer here. Neither one of us are real estate attorneys. Neither one of us have a law degree. Oh. But we have the degree of life, and we have PhDs in life. So
Rick,
sometimes
I was actually a licensed broker and realtor here in the U.S. at one point.
Well, there you go. Okay, so anything he says is legally correct, except it's
no, it was only legally correct in the United States because there ain't any law over there. You've experienced that firsthand.
I have, and even though I don't have that background, I have purchased personally probably 8 or 9 different homes over my lifetime in the United States. So, having done it, most of them sold by myself for sale by owner, and dealing with real estate agents and so forth. So we both kind of, I guess, we have you have a licensed background, and I have a life background. Now we're going to transfer it over to here, where a lot of it doesn't apply, and that's kind of where us foreigners fall astray. Is we tend to want to think that everything's going to be here like it is in the U.S., and it couldn't be more different. And we'll talk about a lot of those differences, and just what makes it so challenging to actually pull this off. It can be done. You have to be very careful, and you have to ask a lot of questions. And who did my favorite saying? Was it Mr. Reagan? Trust but verify. Yeah. There's a lot. That statement can apply to almost anything over here. So trust but verify. Great advice. So that's what we're going to do this morning. So Roy, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you kind of start with whatever question you have for me, and then I'm just going to, talk.
Sure. When you decided to come to the Philippines, when did you decide that rather than renting a property that you needed to purchase one?
Good question. Well, okay. It's a little bit of a backstory. Jen and I started dating a long time ago. We dated for 5 years before we married. Long distance, LDR, I think is what they call it here. Mm-hmm. Long distance relationship. So the first real estate experience I had was I bought a condo. Jen was working at Solaire down in Pasay, near the Mall of Asia. And some of y'all are going to freak out if you're not dating a Filipina that's in a situation like this, but you're going to, it always shocked me what they have to do to make a peso here. Jen is from the Cuyapo Nueva Ecija. It's a central Luzon. It's quite a ways from Metro Manila. But she worked Metro Manila 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And that one day off she would commute from Pasay to Cuyapo and literally spend a matter of a few hours with her son and her family, and then get right back on in a tricycle, back over to Paniqui, back on a bus, back to Pasay. And that was depending on the weather, and if it was a holiday, it could be anywhere from 3.5, 4 hour to about a 6.5 hour commute. But that's what she did. That's what she had to do. She wanted to spend any time with her family. They don't get time off. They tell them they do, but they don't. They make it so hard for them to take time off for anything. And So it's just a tough life. So what she had to do was rent a bed space. They have bed spaces here. So you'll have people that will have a room in their home, and they'll rent out, put six girls, six beds in this room, and they pay their little rent, and so that's what she did. That's where she stayed at night, and then went to work, did her shift, came back there, and then one day a week to Cuba. I wanted early on, when I had realized I had fallen in love with this woman, I wanted to try to make that a little bit less difficult um, for her. And so I did not tell her, but I found a condominium in Parañaje, which is just south of Pasay. Easy, easy, easy commute. Um, One van, boom, she's there, and also would give her, more time, more rest, more less time traveling back and forth, and so forth. So and I thought that'd be a great place for me to live. As a foreigner, I cannot own land. I cannot legally own property in the Philippines.
Absolutely.
I can or own a condominium, because the condominium, you don't own the land. You own the piece of the structure. So I did that. I searched and searched, found the one I wanted. They were building in Parañaje, went down and did the deal, and started making payments. It wasn't going to be done for a couple of years, and I faithfully paid those payments. That is probably a vlog in and of itself. So I'm going to cut it really short. When it came time for me to actually take over the condominium at the turnover date, and again, I've been paying every month for 2 years. Um, at the very end of this process, I got a message. Oh, you owe 445,000 pesos for this fee and that fee and da 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 da, all this closing stuff. It just made up stuff. But anyway, I been over backwards to get that there on time, which was not an easy thing to do when you're dealing with large sums of money. But I did it. And then literally 2 days after they had their money in their account, I got an email saying, "Oh, sorry, due to COVID, your condominium is not going to be ready for months." Well, needless to say, I got a little upset, and that started a what's now been a multi-year lawsuit of a foreigner suing the largest developer in the Philippines. And I won't go into details on that because it's still happening. But by all intents and purposes, I've won the case, but the company is doing everything within their legal power to not follow through with the commission that oversaw the case with their judgment. So I've got nothing. And basically, all I wanted, since they couldn't fulfill their end of the bargain, I asked for my money back. And they proceeded to tell me by law they only had to give me 50%. And that's called a Merced law, I believe is what it's called. But I've got a little bit of a brain, so I started reading these laws that they were quoting me, and it just wasn't adding up. I eventually hired an attorney, and of course that's cost more money. And my wife knows the Philippines very well. She knew this might not go well, but I'm a fighter, and ultimately, I just wanted them to do the right thing, and that is, if you can't deliver my product that I've been religiously paying on time for this amount of time, then you need to give me what I've paid back. I didn't ask for interest. I didn't ask for anything. I just wanted my money back, and they would not do it. So be careful.
I think that's really a shocker for people, especially for people in the U.S. that come to the Philippines. And, we're so used to the structure that we have in the U.S. And our laws and our structure in the U.S. are designed for that. I get what I pay for. I get what I get on time, and there's always something to protect you somewhere. And then you come to the Philippines, and it's like you're in the Wild West, man.
Yeah. Well, and in the U.S., the consumer's number one. The
Absolutely.
client is, it's called customer service, and U.S. companies for the most part will go up above and beyond because they know if they don't, with social media today and all, it's easy to tear a company down by just telling the truth if they're not doing the right thing. Here, the law is designed to protect the company, and the Filipinos know it to the point where they don't even try. They don't ask for money back. They don't ask for anything. They're happy if they get anything in return for the money that they sent in. That doesn't fly with me. That was very hard earned money, and like I said, I did everything I agreed to do. They failed to meet the standard, and so right now it's still the judgment's been made. Um, they've dropped a hint that they might be willing to look at a refund, and at which time my attorney said, well, I don't have Mr. Baker's authority to do that, but I think very least is you need to pay him interest on his money and return not just the payments but the fees and everything else that you stuck him with. And and I think he would probably be okay with that. Even though the commission had told them you have to give him that condo or one like it. And the thing is, they had already sold it to somebody else, and so yeah, it's an interesting scenario. So it's kind of a nightmare, um, and it may end up I may not see a dime, and I may be out my attorney's fees, and but I've it was to me it came down to just what's right. And so I guess my advice to folks, if a lot of people come here and buy the condominiums, and there's a lot of condominiums being built and sold. And if you're okay living in that, like an apartment type setting, they are nice. This particular one was like a little resort, 4 buildings, what they call mid-rise. I think 12 stories was the highest. 2 or 3 pools and a walking trail around the property, and underground parking. So, by the way, you got to buy the parking space, 1 million plus pesos. A lot of people don't know that. Just because you buy the condo doesn't come with a parking space. And if you don't buy a parking space and you have a vehicle, you ain't gonna find any parking out on the road. It just ain't gonna happen. So that's another piece of advice for you. Be prepared to add 1 million pesos on the cost of your condo if you're planning on driving a car in the Philippines. So the best advice I could give you there is just be aware that the consumer is not protected well here. The laws are written in a way to protect the developer, and they are very comfortable with taking your money and not giving you anything for it. So if let's say, for example, you decide to buy a condo, and you're a lot of people these condos are being sold before the buildings are even built, and so you get in on that, and you get on the ground floor, and you do your down payment, and you start your monthly payments from your bank in the U.S. Everything's rocking along. It's 2 years basically before they start releasing those condos. It's about how long it takes to build them, and let's say your life changes, and getting a condo in a particular location of Metro Manila no longer, maybe you broke up with your girlfriend. I don't know. So maybe life happens. Just be aware. If you back out in any way on that, you're not going to get your money. You're going to get half. Be prepared to lose half of any money you paid that developer, and they are protected by law on that. In my case, it was a little different because the developer does have to fulfill. They have to do everything like they're supposed to do in order to get that half. Because what happened was when they didn't turn it over to me on time, it made me angry. 2 years of doing the right thing and making sure that I followed all of their little requirements and things that they do. Even already had the loan set up with PNB over in New York to pay off the balance once turnover was ready. And yeah, they reneged on that. So they wanted to rock along as if, and they thought I would just be okay with half the money back, and I wasn't. So anyway, just be careful. Know what you're doing. Be aware that if your life changes and you try to back out, you're gonna lose half of anything, and it's not going to be easy getting your other half back. They will make it very hard for you to do that. Just be aware of that. If you know that going in, maybe you'll be okay. Whew.
Well,
So that was my first. That was my first real estate type experience, Roy, in the Philippines.
you didn't tell me about the condo deal. Yeah, tonight is the first time I've heard that. And as you're telling me this story, I'm thinking, and then you went on? Man, you're a glutton for punishment. They already kicked you in the belly, and well, I'm going to go on now. We're gonna buy a row home.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you should have wore a T-shirt that said "Abuse me."
I love my wife. Okay. Oh,
my story is not going to be nearly as exciting as yours. I'm sorry.
I know. I know. And I'm probably, a fool for even sharing this kind of stuff. But honestly, if somebody can learn something from it and somebody can make better choices based on I'm not an ignorant person, but sometimes I do things, or I don't do my due diligence. Yeah. And honestly, though, in my defense, if I'm gonna make some kind of an excuse, the developer I was buying from was the number one incredible reputation here in the Philippines, and their properties are beautiful, and their condos are gorgeous, and so I didn't really feel like I had to do anything, because I never foresaw 2 years down the road that we were getting to the point of closing on it and turnover, only for them to say, oh, well, we're not going to be able to do that. And I guess had that not happened right after they demanded this 445,000 pesos in fees and things that they said needed to be paid before turnover. Okay, so there was no indication at that point that they weren't planning to, even though they know that they're not turning it over, right? It wasn't rocket science. They knew it. And so once they had their money in their account, that, and then and only then did they decide, and it's not ethical. They don't skip a beat on stuff like that in the Philippines. Ethics are out the window. They were never actually in the room. I know that now. I didn't know that then, but I know that now. Ethics are almost never a part of any financial transaction here in the Philippines. And there's a lot of folks that are probably going to, I guess based on your experiences, you might disagree with that. But I will say almost 100% of my experiences have led me to believe that that's the truth. I don't like it. It's not enough to make me want to leave. I still love the Philippines, and I love the Filipino people. There's just some things about how they do business that I think stinks. And God, I wish they would change it. But,
Honestly, I agree with you.
It is what it is.
Experiences, I have the same opinion.
Yeah, it's me that has to adapt because I'm the foreigner. And yes. Yeah. So anyway, you mentioned the next. Let me move on. Here, these row houses there's lots of them, and they're literally the road in front or between your row and the row in front of you. The road that splits them is about as wide as a car and a half. The good, the bad, the Philippines.